That's probably vibe.
Rolling.
The governor.
I'll bring a hat. Put slips of paper in.
You get 2 extra.
I don't think you understand how democracy works. I have a fairly
I think
inkling.
Mark has a pretty darn good
Some
idea.
are more equal than others.
It's like I tell my students all the time. I teach you 2 things in this class. First, how things are supposed to work. Second, how they actually work. For the purpose of the test, you mark down how they're supposed to work. Begin. Could you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for being here this evening. I would like to introduce Miss Jody Sickler to everyone. She is our new clerk of council. I'm happy to inform you she signed a 32-year contract. And she was sworn in this afternoon by City Attorney Mike Marsh, so she is all legal for us.
All right.
And with that, could you call the roll, please?
Dennis,
Here.
Harold,
Here.
Hollenbaugh,
Here.
Odoricio,
Here.
Phipps,
Here.
Robinette,
Here.
Rabando.
Here.
Okay. The minutes from our May 16th meeting were distributed to you for your perusal. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Correspondence. Jody, do we have any correspondence?
No correspondence this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Special recognitions. Mayor Osbacher.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Council. I do have a couple of special presentations this evening in the form of proclamations. We have 2 important proclamations that I wanted to highlight this evening and share with City Council and the community. For the first one, I would like to ask Lindsay Durham and other representatives of the Bgo Pride group to come up and join me if you'd like. I would appreciate it if you would. Hi, I'm Mike. Good to see you. Nice to see you. Hi, Lindsay. How are you? Okay, so this is a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, whereas I+ refers to a global movement and philosophy asserting that all people, inclusive of their sexualities and gender identities, should be affirmed in their self-worth and dignity, proud of their resilience, and have the right to equality or equity and equality. And whereas the city of Bowling Green has a long history of inclusiveness and welcoming and is fortunate to be a diverse community, including LGBTQI+ residents. And whereas Bowling Green actively celebrates this diversity through Not in Our Town and the city's Human Relations Commission, two organizations actively working to promote equality, equity, inclusiveness, and understanding of all people. And whereas, as part of these efforts, Bowling Green has taken a proactive stance on enacting laws that protect against discrimination, Chapter 39 of the Bowling Green Codified Ordinances, as well as passing resolutions condemning violence, hate speech, and proclaiming our community as safe and welcoming for all. And whereas June is National Pride Month to commemorate the Stonewall Riot and ensuing events that occurred in New York City in 1969 that are believed to be the beginning of the LGBTQI+ liberation movement in the United States. Now, therefore, I, Mike Osbacher, Mayor of the City of Bowling Green, do hereby proclaim June 2022 as LGBTQI+ Pride Month in this municipality and encourage all residents to promote allyship with and advocacy for our LGBTQI+ neighbors to live out the Human Relations Commission and NIOD ideals of celebrating diversity and welcoming all, inclusive of their sexualities and gender identities. I wanted to take a minute, read this, and for the second proclamation this evening, I'd like to ask Chris Douglas, representative of Brave, to join me. Thank you, Chris. Another proclamation from the office of the mayor. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring the slaves in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas word about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed some 2.5 years to June 19th, 1865, in reaching authorities and African Americans in the South and Southwestern United States. And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas the city of Bowling Green pledges to celebrate the culture that exists therein. And whereas the annual Juneteenth celebration in the city of Bowling Green will be hosted by Brave and take place at Worcester Green on June 18th, 2022. Now, therefore, I, Mike Osbacher, Mayor of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio, do proclaim June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth in the City of Bowling Green, and urge all citizens to become more aware of the significance of the celebration in African American history and in the heritage of our nation and our city. So, Chris, I wanted to present you this certificate. Hopefully you can share that with Brave. Thank you. And if you wanted to take a couple of minutes, I don't know, I'm putting you on the spot here, and maybe talk a little bit about the event.
Hello, everybody. I'm a little bit more soggy than I would have hoped to be standing here today. Braves Juneteenth event is going to be held Saturday the 18th. Feel free to come out. If you know anybody that needs community service hours to serve their community, definitely tell them to reach out to us. We could use all the volunteers we can get. But other than that, thank you so much for this, and I will definitely be passing this on to my other members. I got one standing next to me here. She's got her hands in many pots. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. That brings us to lobby visitations. Jody, do we have anyone signed up for lobby visitation?
Yes. First one is Dallas Black.
Okay. If you could come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
I'm Dallas Black, 536 Buttonwood Avenue.
And if I could just interject before you start, I don't know if everyone knows, but Mr. Black sent us an email this evening around 5:30. So I would ask that, since we haven't had a chance to look at the email, he also provided copies for us at the desk. And because to the best of my ability to discern, the concern you have has to do more with the executive branch than the legislative branch, that you keep your
But
comments.
it's certainly relevant to the entire community in more
Which
ways
is,
than I
which
think
is
you probably
why
imagine.
lobby visitation exists. I just ask that you keep it to facts.
Will do. Mark, thank you for that introduction and for the opportunity to address council and the mayor. Many of you guys know I've been a local teacher for a long time, 18 years. If you've been reading the media, you also know that I was terminated last July. The termination hearing just concluded, and what you have in your hands are the first brief, post-hearing brief, and the second post-hearing brief. I tacked on a couple extra documents to make it more relevant to you, but essentially that's why I use more or less. Okay. The first post-hearing brief is a very broad overview of my complaints of the chicanery that I've been subjected to by the superintendent and the school board. They've done a pretty good job of silencing me in the hearing, etc., excluding evidence, etc., relevance. We're playing lawyers' games. Objection, relevance. It's supposed to be a public hearing, and as some of you might know, an administrative hearing does not necessarily follow the rules of evidence. Although my objections were heard, they were not. They made no difference. So I want to make sure that the community is well aware of my circumstances, my efforts, the railroad job that I've been handed. But one way or another, we'll know in probably 7 or 8 days. The referee's going to make his decision and make a recommendation to the board. If you know anything about the law, the board's either going to look at it and decide to follow his recommendation and reinstate or uphold my termination, whichever way, or the board could go some other way. In local parentis, you get the whole backstory of my coming to be a little ahead of the curve, if you will, with regards to pedagogy, with regards to bullying, the connection between mental health and bullying, the connection between bullying, student suicide, between bullying and school shootings. Incredibly, as you'll read in the first one, and the stuff I tacked on there, and that's principally why we're here, is the executive branch, Chief Hetrick's comments to Jan Larson that were printed in the BG Independent back on January 14th, 2020. Misrepresentations, defamatory. I do not typically, I'm not a social media guy, but my wife got wind of that article. It's the second, actually page 3 of the little packet. Page 3, my wife got wind of that from 2 friends who either called her or texted her at lunch, and the message from each was essentially the same: "I'm so sorry." And I said, what are you talking about? What? So I eventually found the article, read it over lunch. By the time I get to 7th period, I walk into class and all my students have read this. And one of my sharper kids says, "Why didn't she check her sources?" I didn't understand what he meant. So I asked. He said, "Well, why didn't she check her sources?" in the brief time that between when he read the article, he immediately went to Alice and realized that Alice, in fact, does require recertification. It's every 2 years. I would encourage anybody here with a phone to go ahead and verify that Chief Hetrick's comments here are not the truth. Honesty is supposed to be a core value of the police department. We've got a police chief publicly defaming high school teacher. I'm out of year's salary at this point.
So are you alleging that the chief misrepresented the conditions of Alice training?
Certification.
Okay.
Specifically, he said, if we look at paragraph here, a couple from the bottom, in his email, Black repeated his concerns about school safety issues, specifically about the Alice safety training, blah, blah, blah. He wrote the Alice certification of the officer leading the training had lapsed. Yeah, it had. Now, after Officer Benguela sat there and told 300 teachers that the protocol in Bowling Green was to wait for 3 officers before they entered the building, it immediately set something off my head. I'm like, why would they wait for 3? I immediately put myself in the shoes of the officers. Now, ignore what you know from Uvalde with the delay. Ignore what you know from Parkland. But I can imagine that there's got to be some officers on the police department who don't want to wait for 3. If you know anything about these school shootings, if you've been reading, half the time, police get in the building, the shooter shoots himself. So I started doing some research, first of all online, and then I called Alice. And the guy I talked to, Keith, told me, no, his certification is lapsed. The closest thing he said there, he's in a gray area, but it has lapsed and it is required every 2 years. So at this point, I'm to believe that the executive branch's right arm is still out there traumatizing teacher by making them watch the Columbine reenactment video. I don't know if you've seen it. I first saw it in 2015, first day of school under Superintendent McVeigh and the Bowling Green Police Department. What a way to start the school year. We're watching a grainy black and white video of 2 students killing their peers and then ultimately taking their own lives. It's such a well done video. Graininess, bad angles, the whole 9 yards. That if you didn't know it was a reenactment, you would think you were looking at the real thing. Of course, it was done for shock value. As Jan pointed out, I think it's a form of bullying. Having been in this town since 1984, I'm one of those guys who came here as a college student. Did I see people get roughed up by the police? I did. But I understand we tolerate some abuse coming from the police department because we got to keep those college kids from peeing on lawns and making messes with beer cans.
I can tell you in my dealings with the chief that we in no way tolerate any abuses of authority on behalf of our police officers.
Okay, well, I can tell you that I was pushed down a set of stairs, my front porch, unnecessarily.
Well, I'm telling
After
you,
being dumb enough to volunteer that I lived there.
I'm
But
telling you that
nevertheless-
our policy is that we do not.
Oh, I know it's
tolerate
policy.
any-
I'm just saying it's tolerated by the community. So the
I
bullying
guess
starts there.
I'm going to interrupt for a minute and say,
Sure.
what exactly is it that you're asking for?
I'm here to seek redress.
All right. Well, I will
As I
ask.
put in the email, I would like, first of all, an apology. Second of all, I'd like to set the record straight. Now, according to this article, at least the business about whether
Look,
we have 3 police officers.
we haven't.
Well, this is an important part. Hang on.
But we haven't read the article, so we
It's
can't
only
comment
1
on it.
page. I gave it to you 20 minutes ago.
I'm kind of in the middle of a public meeting.
Mark and I've known each other since shortly after I got here.
It's
worked
been
at Polymath.
decades.
It's been decades.
Yes.
Importantly, according to this article, if we're to believe Chief Hetrick, because we got a mixture of absolute fiction
Look,
And
these are allegations and, I'm not going to let you stand up here and make
Somebody- well,
allegations
okay,
and assertions. If there is some error that has occurred in the representation of Alice training, I will ask the administration look into that. If there is something that would require an apology for a misrepresentation, I'll ask that that be looked into. But apart from that, there's really nothing else I can offer you this evening.
no, those would be the first two steps. And like I say, the $250, you could reimburse me for the copies. That would be the third step. So we've got 3 steps so far. My list is going to grow.
Well, not right now at this meeting. It's not because,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
feel free to email
Uh,
each of us
can-
with,
Can we just clarify that in the article, he suggests that the Bowling Green policy is the first one there, it's consistent with Alice. So whether he got caught up after a few years or whether Mr. Officer Bengella was mistaken, I'm not sure. Okay, but the most important thing is that the policy of the first officer there goes in is now on board. The defamation and the misrepresentations we'll have to deal with.
okay.
But it
I,
all comes back to truth. And if you read this one, I spent a lot of time talking about the importance of truth and how it's worked for me as a teacher and as a member of this community and how it hasn't worked. That's involved not only the chief of police, it's involved the local judges. Both Redden and Rieger are mentioned in there. And I had the unfortunate experience.
Again, I ask you to please reach out to members of council and the administration to see, what sort of matters need to be dealt with. But there's nothing we can do during this meeting. So I thank you for your time and
Mark,
and
please give it a good read. And if anybody has
I
a question,
promise
please
you I
let me
will
know.
read every page.
All right. Appreciate that.
All right, thank you very much.
President, if I may.
Yes.
As a representative or the head of the executive branch, I'd like to respond to Mr. Black's comments. What I would like to do is to categorically reject the notion that the question of the credibility of Chief Petrick and other members of our police division. I also want to strongly defend the training credentials of our police division. As you're aware, our police division is nationally accredited. It's a very extensive process that they go through regularly. We're very proud of the fact that they invest the effort and the resources in an effort to achieve this accreditation, and I think it supports the mission statement and core values of the department. I will also say that, and I want to clarify, I find that these comments around school shootings, I question the timing of that and the atmosphere that we're in right now. I'm not interested necessarily in engaging in the details of Mr. Black's situation with the school board, but I am interested in assuring residents of the city of Bowling Green that our officers are trained rigorously to address situations that do occur in schools, violent situations. And I can assure you that the policy of the Bowling Green Police Division is, if there is a report of an active shooter in a school, in a public session, or a public building anywhere in Bowling Green, our police officers will respond, and the first officer on site will confront that active shooter. This notion of them waiting until there are 3 officers or additional resources before they confront an active shooter is false. So I want to very strongly make it clear that our police officers, number 1, are highly trained, number 2, highly proficient, and number 3, dedicated to their job. And if such a situation would present itself in Bowling Green, God willing, we never, ever have to experience that in Bowling Green, for that matter, anywhere in the United States ever again. I can assure you that our police division will respond accordingly and they will deal with that threat. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone else signed up for lobby visitation?
Miranda Douglas.
If you could please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's Miranda Douglas. My address is 9048 Rudolph Road, Rudolph, Ohio, 43462.
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay. I'm here speaking about Pride Month. I'm very appreciative to the city for the proclamation. Last time I spoke here, I was like a deer in the headlights. Tonight, I'm hoping to be a little bit more at ease. But I do want to thank everyone here for everything that they've done to help us along. I've met several of you outside of here. My group has met several of you outside of here. We love the community. We want to help the community the best we can. We have several events coming up. We do have a Pride coming up in August, being held at the First Presbyterian Church. And we'll have the date for that soon. We'll put up posters in different stores and places. And then on the 26th of this month, I get to speak at the church. And so everybody can come and see me be all nervous. So I just want to say that LGBTQ people are just people like you. We do have differences like everyone else. And we have families. We do fun things. We work. We enjoy Bowling Green. And we have feelings. And we go through a lot. And for Bowling Green to recognize us the way that they have, that's so very important to all of us. And I appreciate that. And I want to thank you on behalf of the whole community. Here's my friend, Lindsay.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Durham. I live at 853 Parker Street. The Bgo Pride Association would like to invite the community to celebrate Pride Month. There will be a Rainbow Road fundraiser at Rock'em Sock'em Retro from 6 to 9 p.m. on Sunday, June 12th. Participants can pay $5 at the door for 2 hours of arcade gameplay. All proceeds will benefit the Bgo Pride Association. Thanks to Elmore Properties, Bgo Pride will be setting up at 112 South Main Street during Firefly Nights on Friday, June 12th from 6 to 10 p.m. Here, the community can learn more about the Bgo Pride Association and ways to get involved. There will be an ice cream social event at the First Presbyterian Church on Sunday, June 26th, beginning at 11:15 a.m. Miranda Allison Douglas will be presenting a moment of education for attendees. There will be a free will donation with all proceeds benefiting the Bgo Pride Association. The Bgo Pride Association would like to thank Elmore Properties and the First Presbyterian Church for their generous donation of space. The Bgo Pride Association is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our mission is to increase visibility within the Bowling Green, Ohio area for members and families of the LGBTQIA+ community through education, event planning, networking, and advocacy. And now to wear my other hat as a member of Brave, I'd also like to thank the mayor for recognizing Juneteenth. I believe it is paramount to celebrate the day when we all became free. In honor of this, I'd like to invite you to Wooster Green on June 18th from 2 to 8 to celebrate Juneteenth. There will be food, music, and fun to be had by all. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Anyone else signed up for lobby visitation?
Mary Hinkleman.
Mary.
Hello, everybody. Mary Hinkleman, Executive Director of the Bowling Green Chamber of Commerce. Address is 217 South Church Street. I'm here tonight to talk about our upcoming Independence Day celebration. On July the 3rd, we will have our annual fireworks, and they'll be shot off from the tractor puller's property out there by the fairgrounds. And we're expanding that event to also have a festival. More to come about that. But right now, as we're getting ready for this event, we are doing some fundraising and making people aware that we too need volunteers. Those donations, sponsorships, and volunteers are always top of the list for any event planner. Our annual Porkaline fundraiser for the fireworks will be June the 15th. That's not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday from 4 to 7 at WLI's Downtown BG Farmers Market, located at the corner of South Main and Clough Streets. As in previous years, the event is donation-based, so you place your order for the porkalines and you make a donation for those to help us with the fireworks. Many thanks to Belleville Brothers Meat Market. They've done this for many years, and they're always out there as a family helping grill the porkalines. It's just a great community event. We are also doing a fundraiser with Bates Recycling, which is at 1272 Jerry City Road in Signet. Belinda and Chris Bates have been absolutely wonderful in doing aluminum can collection for all the cans that have been dropped off since January. They've donated 5 cents of every pound. So if you drop them off there at the recycling center, you get what you would normally get for the recycle, and then an additional 5 cents goes to the Fireworks Foundation. If you can't make it out there and you just want to donate any cans that you have collected, when we have the porkaline, we will have waste baskets out there to collect those. So if you can't make it out to Signet, please drop them by. So just keep your eyes open for the rest of the information about the fireworks and the festival, because it's coming along really well, and you will all be very, very pleased at this community event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jody, do we have any more?
No.
Okay. That brings us to the introduction of legislation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
from the Finance Committee, I have an ordinance and a resolution adopting the estimate of revenues for the year 2023, and an ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022.
Okay, and I have an ordinance transferring certain properties in Innovative Technology Park to Bowling Green Economic Development in lieu of dues to facilitate a development project and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Mr. Rabando.
I have an ordinance from the Parks and Recreation Committee. It is an ordinance authorizing the Public Service Director to advertise for bids to enter into a contract or contracts for improvements at City Park, including paving of City Park Drive, constructing a shared use walking path, paving/repairing parking lots, and other related projects.
All righty. That brings us to official reports. Mr. Mayor,
No report, subject to any questions that you may have.
any questions for the mayor this evening?
One question, Mike. Did you have no report just to make it a little easier on Jody this time?
I did,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I see that Ms. Treader is not with us this evening. City Attorney, Mr. Marsh.
This isn't law, and it doesn't have to be in the minutes. If you didn't go to Oak Grove last weekend, you really missed quite a scene. The place always looks great, thanks to Tim and Denny, but really looked outstanding. They do a pretty terrific job. We're really lucky. It's an important place, and a lot of times we don't think about it. It's easy to just drive on by, but looked really good, and they do a nice job. We're fortunate to have those guys. That's it.
Any questions for Mr. Marsh while we have him at the microphone?
Let me just add to build on what Mike said, and that is that after the grounds are maintained, all those flags that helped beautify that were put up by volunteer citizens. Every single one of them was placed there by a volunteer, and the local host, the American Legion, could not do that without the citizen volunteers. So I'll throw in a thank you for all of them.
Okay. Public Services Director, Mr. Fawcett.
I feel bad. I feel like I need to say no report, so Jody gets a reprieve.
You do what you got to do.
Yes. I'll echo what Mike and Greg said, but add in a plug for the American Legion, who wakes up very early to put the flags along Main Street and Court Street, and then wakes up fairly early to bring them back down. And they do that a few times a year. So they do a fantastic job. Just a reminder that the first Firefly Nights of the summer is coming up here soon, June 17th, from 6 to 10 p.m. in our historic downtown. Main Street from Court to Washington. The parking restrictions will go into effect at 2 p.m. And then at 4, Main Street will be closed. Again, it's very similar to the Black Swamp, so Wooster Street will remain open, and any cross street that is within the closed area will be closed as well. And then Main will reopen after the event. Pending your questions, that's all I have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Fawcett? All right, thank you
you.
very much. Public Infrastructure Director, Mr. O'Connell.
I think I mentioned at the last meeting at the substation up at Bremen Bishop was going to be energized at the end of May. And that did happen. So around May 27th or 28th there, it was energized. And so we now have 4 interconnection points with the transmission system outside of Bowling Green to get power to the city. So again, it was just a recap from last time. It was just a way to provide some additional reliability and certain electric service to the city in case of outages outside of Bowling Green. So when First Energy has issues with their transmission system, we'll have more reliability on our end by having more feeds. So they're out there doing some final cleanup work inside the yard, but most of the work they're doing now is outside of the fence. Site work and the trail that's going to be built along the perimeter along Bremen Bishop there is getting put together. So that's the activities that's going on right now. So that's all I have unless you have questions for me.
Are there any questions for Mr. O'Connell this evening? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to council committee reports. Are there any council committee reports this evening?
Mr. President?
Mr. Harold?
It's not really a committee report, but I guess it fits here. The next council meeting is not on Monday, the 20th. It is
I was going to announce that at the end of the meeting.
and
The
this is a teaser.
The next 2 council meetings will not be on Monday.
Okay.
But yeah, we can stick it in now. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to bring it up, especially since we do have a public hearing before the next council meeting, and it says it's on the 21st, but it had said 20th, so I just thought it might be good to have it in a public meeting that
Correct.
changed.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Yep. And just sort of to finish that thought, there is a public hearing for the Planning, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee that I believe was originally spoken at a meeting as being scheduled for June 20th. It will actually be before our Tuesday, June 21st meeting, and that will be at 6:30 p.m. The June meeting being changed in observance of the Juneteenth holiday. And then also, since the 4th of July falls on a Monday this year, our first meeting in July will be on Tuesday, July 5th.
Mr.
Okay.
President,
Go ahead.
I would like to also schedule a committee meeting of the Sustainability Committee for July 5th at 6:30 for the purpose of reviewing the greenhouse gas emission inventory and the waste diversion report from Amanda.
Jody, is that spot available on the calendar?
It is.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. That will bring us to the reading of legislation. Jody, if you could please lead us in the reading of legislation.
Legislation for first reading. It's resolution number 3825 for first reading. Resolution adopting the estimate of revenues for the year 2023.
Could you give that number again? I'm sorry.
3825.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 9011 for first reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to suspend the rules and give ordinance 9011 its second and third readings.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Jody, could you call the roll?
Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
Odericio?
Yes.
Phipps?
Yes.
Robinette?
Yes.
Rubando?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Okay, so the rules are suspended for ordinance 9011.
Ordinance number 9011 for second and third reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to adopt ordinance 9011.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. Jody?
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Robando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 9011 is adopted.
Ordinance number 9012 for first reading. Ordinance transferring certain properties in Innovative Technology Park in Bowling Green Economic Development in lieu of dues to facilitate a development project and declaring an emergency.
All right, I make a motion to suspend the rules and give ordinance 9012 its second and third readings.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Jody? Bill seconded.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
When in doubt, I pretty much second.
Yeah. When in doubt, Bill.
Got it. Thanks. Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Robando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh.
Yes, so the rules have been suspended for ordinance 9012.
Ordinance number 9012 for second and third reading. Ordinance transferring certain properties in Innovative Technology Park to Bowling Green Economic Development in lieu of dues to facilitate a development project and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I make a motion to adopt the emergency clause for ordinance 9012.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. That was Bill.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay. Jody, if you could call the roll.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Robando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio.
Yes.
Okay, so the emergency clause is adopted for ordinance 9012. I now make a motion to adopt ordinance 9012.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Jody, could you call the roll?
Robinette,
Yes.
Robando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps.
Yes.
Okay, so ordinance 9012 is adopted.
Ordinance number 9013 for first reading. Ordinance authorizing the Public Services Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for improvements at City Park, including paving of City Park Drive, constructing a shared use walking path, paving, repairing parking lots, and other related projects. Legislation for second reading. Resolution number 3824 for second reading. Resolution adopting and authorizing an amended Community Development Block Grant CDBG Housing Policy and Procedures Manual. Ordinance number 9009, ordinance authorizing, I'm sorry, for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the Public Services Director to sign an LPA agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, and to seek qualifications, advertise for bids, and enter into a contract or contracts for design, engineering, right-of-way acquisition, construction, and other services related to the construction of a multi-use path along Brim Road and adjacent vicinity. Ordinance number 9010 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the placement of the Police Division Building on West Wooster Street and the Needle Hall Building located in City Park on the local historic register as suggested by the Historic Preservation Commission. There is no legislation for third reading.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold.
two things. One, well done, Jody.
Thank you.
The first meeting is bound to be very, very nervous. You did very, very well. And you're going to get better. And Mark, I am also impressed. There wasn't one time you said, Kay, call the roll, or Kay, do this. You transitioned to Jody without.
In all fairness, I just went really slowly this evening.
But still, it's very, very impressive.
Is there any other business to come before council this evening?
Mr. President,
Yes. go ahead.
I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate the organizers of Porch Fest on what appeared to be a very successful event this past weekend. Also thank Lieutenant Scaff and Officer Sellhorse, who were on site multiple times throughout the day and made sure everything ran smoothly. Supported the lemonade stand that was operating down the street. So just wanted
It's
to add
nice.
that in.
It's nice we still live in a country that can have lemonade stands.
They did very well, it seemed.
Now that the window has closed for ARPA fund requests, Jody and I will be getting together to put together a list that includes everything that we received. After we have that comprehensive list, I will circulate that to you so you can let me know if I missed anything. And then we'll figure out next steps from there. So, any other business to come before council? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Masochist, same sign. We are adjourned.
Okay.